YouTube. So this is a penguin that was modified into an owl by adding tufts and bigger wings. So I have linked the original designer below if you would like to support them. If not, then just be aware these are the modifications I've made in order to make the owls. This takes a little under 4 ounces of polyfill in order to stuff it to this fullness. Keep in mind your feet may or may not need as much stuffing as mine depending on how large you made them. I hope you have a lot of fun with this project. It is half done, so there's only a few finishing steps to do, and then you're all done and it's yours to enjoy. Owls and penguins, you can tell I almost got done with. Like, that much is clear. Okay? So there's a flat bottom piece, and then the body is already sewn with ears if it's an owl, and then wings for both. And then it's got a tiny little floofy tail right here that corresponds to kind of like the teardrop shape right here. You can iron this if you'd like. For the most part, the fact that it's a little wrinkly shouldn't make too much of a difference because you are going to be stuffing it. But it's this piece of fabric I wanted to talk most about. So, unless you're the lucky duck that got the one that already had the beak and feet done, everyone else should have a piece of fabric. This is for you to decide how big you want your feet and your beak to be. And you can decide if you want to do two different things. If you want to sew each individual toe, you would kind of make it like you would on a drawing. But if you'd prefer to use thread to make the individual toes, I would just kind of make a fan shape and then sew thread to make the individual toes. That is up to you. And then the beak. And so it kind of depends on how big or how small you want the beaks to be along with the feet, which is why I left this, because some people want really big feet, really small beaks, or vice versa. So I would sketch it out in pencil on this of how big you want it to be after you sew it, and then add almost like a finger length amount around when you cut it out, and then hand stitch on that line that you made. And that is how I recommend doing the feet and beak, so that it is the exact size that you want. So the reason I said doing this as pencil is because of the fact that it makes very faint lines, especially with how light colored this yellow fabric is. So I'm opting to do it the easy, lazy way of doing the feet. So I have basically a trapezoid, narrower here, taller here, and then sort of diagonally. Round it out when you sew it. This will be a great shape to sew in the machine. I made a slightly bigger beak because I was like, this is an owl. Owls have beaks. So do penguins, but like, when I picture an owl, I picture pretty big feet and a pretty big beak. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew these on the machine, leaving this much open on the feet, and then leaving about this much open on the beak, so that I can turn them right side out. Alright, so next steps is to stuff these. So you're going to sew it, make sure you backstitch on the ends, clip it so that it will turn nicely to this when you're done. The reason I'm doing this is because I can make 3 toes by sewing this really tightly with thread. So that's what I'm going to do, but the first thing I'm going to do is stuff it, and then it's going to go onto the bird. The bird is the word. So, I will show you the next step after these are turned right side out and stuffed, to make our owl look like an owl. Okay, so we have 2 feet and a beak, and then these feet are pretty well stuffed. The beak I've already pushed in, and then I have my eyes here. So what I'm going to do is this is folded in half so that I can figure out where I want my eyes to go. Do I want them up here? Do I want them down here? Where do I want them? I generally want them centered in the middle. So I'm going to have this folded in half with both of the white sides. And I'm going to press this marker down long enough that it should bleed a little dot to the other side. Maybe. Ooh. Oh, apparently that's not going to happen today. Okay. Pencil. the pencil is not going to bleed through. If I make it dark enough, I can see it on the other side. Okay. Eyes are matching. Okay. So if you are a child, you may or may not want an adult to help with this. I'm going to take a seam ripper and I'm going to make a very, very small hole right where those dots are. And then I'm going to push my eye through to the other side. You do not want your hole to be too big. And I know these are big eyes, but they're owls. Because otherwise the washer is not going to keep it in place. Okay, there's one. And there is two. Now, you want your eye shines to be going in the same direction, so either up, down, rotate them. I want mine going that way, so then I'm going to put my washer on. Confirm that that's where I want it. Oh, and apparently this material is so thin I can change it afterwards. So, I'm not going to worry about it because they'll stay more in place when they're stuffing because of the one layer of fabric allowing them to rotate. Okay, and then we have our beak. So our beak needs to go over the seam. I would pick whatever side you think is prettiest. And then you're going to go ahead and tack it down to the face by hand. I recommend doing this very slowly so that if you want to take stitches out, you can. And be careful not to catch it on the eyes. I put the eyes in first because that kind of tells me where I want my beak to go. And then just sew it all the way around down. And once I have that done, I will be right back. No one can accuse me of being good at everything because I can't hand sew. So I got partway through the stitch I was doing and then decided I didn't like it, so I redid it. So I stitched the top and then stitched it down. I half wish I could have just glued it and then stitched it, but I don't currently have that ability. So I'm going to turn this inside out and get all the fuzz everywhere. Vacuum cleaners for the win. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is my feet don't have a pretty side or an ugly side, so I'm going to put them on the inside and stitch them down. And I want them to be stitched down before I put on the bottom because that will make my life easier. Make sure they are symmetrical on both sides. Not gonna lie, this last part is the hardest part for me of this entire project. So you then need to get the bottom to the rest of the owl or penguin. So I folded it in half and I pinned it to the seam. So the back seam has the teardrop shape, and then the front circle is is pinned to the front seam. I know it's really hard to see this. And then you kind of match it up so it kind of lays flat on the bottom. Okay, you can hand stitch this, or you can do what I do, which is on the machine, and leave like this much open between the tail and the front piece on the back open, so that you can stuff and then turn it inside out, stuff it, and then sew it up again. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this on the machine, but this is also just as easy to hand stitch. I'm just heavily against hand stitching. Alright, there we go. I have enough room right here to turn it inside out, and I've sewn it all around the bottom. I need to clip all the way around the curves, and then turn right side out and stuff. Woohoo! Here's my little owl. So beak, feet. So in order to do the feet, I put a knot at the end of a length of yarn, feed it through from the bottom to the top, and then again through the same, or approximately same spots, and you're going to make these loops and you're going to tighten them. And you should only have to do it like 3 times depending on how tough your yarn or your thread is. And then as soon as you're, oh, and now I can actually feed this through and tie a knot. So I'm going to do that off camera because I can't focus and do that. So then I've got my hole. So you're going to ladder stitch this together, which I'm not going to show on camera because that's going to be really difficult because you can't focus. But if you look up ladder or mattress stitch, you should be able to just close this hole really nicely, and then you won't be able to tell it's there. And then look, you have an owl that won't sit straight, in my case. Maybe? Oh, there we go. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Cheers!